Today, we're going to learn all about the different roles in congressional leadership. So, we are going to take a look at what the people that are in charge of the House and in charge of the Senate, what they do, like what roles they have in lawmaking and in running Congress in general. What we see here is Nancy Pelosi taking over as Speaker of the House. So she is the person in charge of the House of Representatives. She's been in charge of the House of Representatives since the 2018 elections. Today, we are going to describe the roles of congressional leadership, and this is going to help us explain their impact on policymaking, explain their interactions with other branches of the government, and we're just going to be able to explain how much control they have over American politics. First, let's take a look at party leadership. What we see here, this is President Trump speaking to the two leaders of the parties in the Senate. On the far right there, that is Chuck Schumer. He's the leader of the Democrats in the Senate, and to his left is Mitch McConnell, the leader of the Republicans in the Senate. If the Republicans have the most votes in the Senate, then Mitch McConnell is the Senate Majority Leader. And if the Democrats have the most votes in the Senate, then Chuck Schumer is the Senate Majority Leader. The first thing we need to understand is the parties in Congress. There is a majority party and a minority party, and the majority party is the one that has the most seats. So let's take a look at the advantages that the majority party has. First of all, if they have the most seats, that translates into the most votes. So they're going to have a voting advantage on every topic. The majority party gets to choose the leaders of the chamber. So if the party is the majority in the House, they'll choose the House leadership. If they're the party in the majority party in the Senate, they'll choose the Senate leadership. Every single committee is made up of the same percentage of Republicans and Democrats. So if you have a majority in one House, you have a numerical advantage on every single committee in the House. And that means that they will get to choose every single committee chair, which is very important. That means they're going to have control over what happens in every committee. And it's not true that the minority party is not allowed to propose laws, but really there's no point. It's pretty much the majority party is the only one that's going to have success proposing laws. So the majority party will be able to push the policies that they like through Congress, and the minority party will not have the power to do that. So in each House of Congress, one party is going to make up the majority, the other party is going to make up the minority. The party that makes up the majority, they'll have the most votes, they'll be in charge of all the leadership roles, and they'll be in charge of all the committees, and they'll have advantages in trying to get laws passed. The minority party, on the other hand, they are going to make up less than half of the members of that House, and they're not going to have a lot of power to get things done. So what they typically try to do is they typically, especially in the last few years, try to prevent the majority party from getting things done. To their advantage politically, they want to make it difficult for the majority to pass their policies through Congress and turn them into law. First, let's take a look at the leadership in the House of Representatives. So this, of course, is our larger body. We have 435 members here, and in the picture here, this is a picture of Nancy Pelosi, the current Speaker of the House. So she's the most powerful member of the House of Representatives. In the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House is the most important leadership position. The Speaker of the House is the only congressional leadership position that is mentioned in the Constitution. But the Speaker of the House is the leader of the majority party. And in our current political system, that would be the Democrats in the House. So the Speaker of the House is a Democrat. That's why I've got it represented by blue. Just below the Speaker of the House would be the House Majority Leader. We don't typically hear a lot about the House Majority Leader. They mainly serve as an assistant party leader to the Speaker of the House, but they'd be the second ranking member of the majority party. And then there would be a majority party whip, and we'll talk about the party whips later and what they do for the party. On the other side, in red, in the House of Representatives, we've got the House Minority Leader. They're going to be the leader of the minority party in the House of Representatives, and their main assistant would be the Minority Party Whip. So currently, as we approach the 2020 elections, just so that we know who these people are, the person in charge of the House of Representatives, the Speaker of the House, is Nancy Pelosi. She's a Democrat from California. Her main assistant, the House Majority Leader, is Steny Hoyer. He's a representative from Maryland. And the Majority Party Whip is James Clyburn. He is a representative from South Carolina. Over on the minority side, the minority party in the House, currently the Republicans, the House Minority Leader is Kevin McCarthy, a representative from California, and his minority whip is Steve Scalise, a representative from Louisiana. If in the election the Republicans were to gain more seats than the Democrats, then Kevin McCarthy would become the Speaker of the House and Nancy Pelosi would become the House Minority Leader. The Speaker of the House is the most important of these people. In this case, we're talking about Nancy Pelosi. She is the presiding officer of the House of Representatives. So that means she runs the meetings, she enforces all of the rules, she's able to recognize speakers and things like that. So she's in charge of the meetings. She's also in charge of the majority party. She is the leader of the party, and so she sets the party's goals and makes sure that the party works together and cooperates with each other. In terms of her job as Speaker of the House, she has a tremendous amount of control over the committees. So not only does she decide which bills go to which committees, which has a lot of control over how the bills get written, she also decides which people are on which committees. So she assigns people to work on specific committees. This is the single most important tool that she has to make sure that her party members follow her leadership and follow her directions, because it is up to Nancy Pelosi to put them on the committees that they want to be on in order to have successful careers in Congress. Because she recognizes the speaker, she has a lot of control over who gets to speak in the House of Representatives. She is going to let members of both parties speak, but this is another reason why people want to make sure and follow, listen to the directions of the Speaker of the House. You want to be on good terms with the Speaker of the House so that you are recognized to speak when you want to. Now, this last thing, this is true of any of these leadership roles, but this is really important for the Speaker of the House. They are the most powerful person in all of Congress, but also they are just a regular representative in their own district. So Speaker Pelosi or any other Speaker of the House, they have to keep the voters in their district happy as well. So we'll see them do similar things like all congressmen do. They'll be using casework and pork barrel projects to keep their voters happy. But the Speaker of the House is going to have to ensure that the voters back home in their district are happy in order to keep their job in leadership of their party and in leadership of the House of Representatives. All right, that tells us just a little bit about the parties, the majority and the minority party, and goes through our House of Representatives leadership. We're now going to shift over and take a look at the Senate leadership and wrap up by talking about the role of the party whips.